Hey everyone, how you doing today? As mentioned, I'm doing a extra special interview on Sunday, and we have someone that you are going to truly enjoy. I will rattle off her specs in a minute, but let's welcome Laura to the show. How you doing, Laura?
Hi, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. So I stalked you a little bit this morning. This is what I have. You were in the top 1% of real estate agents in 2021 with almost 4 million in business in Q1. That's an
hmm
amazing year for most people, and you've done it in a single quarter. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Mother of two,
hmm
wife, not only wife, but married to an entrepreneur, which we will certainly get into. We'll give a shout out to your husband in a minute. You're a mom of three Shih Tzu puppies, which if anybody watches my channel knows how important they were to me. And you also happen to enjoy CrossFit, which is something I still enjoy as an old man. So lots of great stuff going on. Uh, that's just an amazing resume. How do you do it? Do you have a magic day stretcher? Like, do you have 48 hours in a day, or how do you juggle all of these things?
Oh, I wish. That's one of the first things that I learned from Pace actually when we were dating is I would be like, "Oh, I just don't have time to do this today." And he was like, "Wake up earlier." You know?
He says it with his dry sense of humor. Just get up earlier.
Yeah,
What are you
just get up
talking about?
earlier. Yeah. Yeah, so I think I combine a lot of my activities together.
Oh,
So
okay.
um spending time with the kids, taking them to properties, teaching them lessons, getting them involved in what I do, kind of maximizes two birds with one stone, and then you can get more done, which is awesome. So,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely combining things helps.
Yeah, so let's give a shout out to your husband. Your husband is Pace Morby, subject to rock star legend in the real estate game.
Yeah.
So shout out Pace. But we're going to make this interview about Laura, right?
Well, I
This
think.
is not about Pace. He already gets enough airtime. But what I would like to talk about is, maybe back when you started dating, right? So before you were married,
Mhm.
um, I'm going to guess Pace was already an entrepreneur. He just seems to be wired
Oh
that
yeah.
way.
Oh yeah. Always.
How was that? Because and again, the entrepreneur in a relationship could be the lady as well. I'm not trying to be sexist here, but there's
Of
usually
course.
one person in the relationships that's not the entrepreneur. Maybe and maybe they were expecting, they were raised in a 9 to 5 family or whatever. How was that kind of figuring out this entrepreneur who didn't have a 9 to 5 but was always busy and all of that? I mean, do you remember back then?
Oh yeah, of course. Luckily enough, I come from an entrepreneur family.
Hmm.
So my father is a general contractor.
Oh, nice.
So I spent a lot of my childhood with my dad at work.
Hmm.
But he also took me to job sites. And on Sunday afternoons after church, we would go walk, homes and go talk about things.
Nice.
But I was incredibly used to it. I'm used to the ups and downs, which there inevitably are.
Hmm.
I'm used to, times where you don't have health insurance and weird things like that,
Yeah.
some women who are used to a 9 to 5 mate might not understand. So I was super lucky in that regard, but it is incredibly interesting to me and sexy, if I can say that on here.
Why not?
So it's attractive to have a man who's ambitious and, going for his goals. And I mean, there is no boring conversations that go on in our house. And it's great to, pick their brains and learn things that, you might not else, they're always reading books and listening to podcasts. And so you pick up on these little tips and tricks as you are talking to them, and it's great. So I think it depends. You get amazing experiences, being with someone who's, high performing and super ambitious, but you definitely, sacrifice some time,
Mhm.
and, the phone's always on. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the same way with him too. So, we see each other both ways, but we're really good at spending time together while we work too, which I think is,
Ah.
again, combining stuff is is massive. So we get to, we'll go on a date night and, you know, go have dinner, but we'll also be going to a few homes. So, um, and we enjoy work. That's the other thing too,
Oh,
is we truly do enjoy what we do because it's fun and we get to help a lot of people and it's really emotionally fulfilling as well. So
that's awesome.
yeah.
I want to go back to what you were doing with your father as a child, and also what you're
Mhm.
doing with your kids today, because I think there's a lot of nuggets in there we shouldn't miss. right? And basically what I hear your dad taught you was involve your kids, right?
Oh yeah.
Bring
Oh
them,
yeah.
teach them vocabulary, questions, all of that. And now you're doing that with the next generation. So shout out dad, who's now grandpa, really inspiring, kind of multi-generations.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about that more. Cause that's whether do you have a cute story about when you were on a job site as a 7 or 8 or 12-year-old that you just always remember?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I spent so much time watching him work, and um I I guess probably one of the things that I thought was the most interesting and really stuck out to me as a child is, when construction things
Mhm.
happen, you've got, employees who maybe don't show up.
Mhm.
And, if you're on a big project, you got to do what you got to do. So,
Yep.
I was born to my dad later in life. He was a little bit immature, still is, but in his 70s now, which is great.
That's funny.
So he didn't have me until he was 40. So, um, when I was a kid, I saw this 50-year-old man, he'd put on his bags and go frame a house. And,
Wow.
I'd hang out with him. And I just thought that was super interesting that somebody who's living in a $2 million house is humble enough to get out there and, hammer in some nails and carry around some 2x4s all day.
Right.
So,
Did what it
um,
what it took. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And he came from nothing. He came from a single parent household. Unfortunately, abusive alcoholic father, and he left home at 15,
Mm.
and he lived in a trailer, growing up. And so he created a beautiful life for me. And I've told him that multiple times. He didn't have the best example on how to be a parent, and he absolutely had no example on how to run a business. And he created this incredible life for my sister and I and my mom.
Mm.
And he's an incredibly interesting person to talk to too. He's a little grumpier in his old age, but he's great. So,
He gets a hall pass. He's allowed to be grumpy at 7.
of course, yeah, he's been through a lot. So,
Oh, that's
yeah,
funny.
but it taught me that, you're not above your employees. My dad was always friends with his employees.
That's awesome.
My dad has a huge head, so they draw pictures of him on, on the drywall in houses with a big old head and a stick figure body, because he's about 6'2" and weighs about 150 pounds.
Oh my God.
So, there was always jokes going around, and he had a lot of fun. He enjoyed it. He made great money, and
Yeah.
he was always humble, and he never forgot where he came from. And
Oh, wow.
I really enjoyed that about him. And he's interesting too. He, did drag racing for a while. He's just a weird
Oh.
guy, just
Oh.
had some fun.
And he's still immature. I love that. He's at 70.
Yeah.
He still has a little fun left in him. That's awesome. So I'm just going to ask a crazy question. Do you remember your first tool belt? I'm guessing dad bought you a tool belt at some point.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We had, of course, the little setup with the little
Oh, yeah.
plastic hammer.
Oh, yeah.
And, we all have pictures of us and, my dad's company logo on a onesie. I actually pulled one of those out of a memory box the other day, put it on our daughter, and I sent it to my dad. And I think I
Oh.
maybe got him a little bit emotional.
Yeah, that's going to hit home for sure.
Yeah.
That is awesome. All
Yeah.
right. So you were raised in that environment. You
Mhm.
understand the ups and downs. You have fun. You see your dad. I love that idea, right? I can just picture leaving a $2 million house in overalls, going to a job site, just picking up 2x4s and starting to do work.
Yeah.
That's got to be amazing. And then you find this boyfriend, which becomes husband, and he's already wired that way. Did you see a lot of similarities or in that or?
Yeah. I do feel like, how they say you marry a version of your mom or you marry a version of your dad. I hate to say that, but they do have a lot of similarities. I mean, Pace is one in a million, Pace is on another level. Even my dad is like, my gosh, he's going places, like you're in for a while. buddy."
Hold on tight, honey.
Yeah. So, he it's funny, but yeah, there's so many similarities between the two of them. So I married a version of my dad, I guess.
There you go. Well, let's talk about the kids, because again, what I'm hoping we get out of this is both mom, dad, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriends really understand the importance of sharing what you're doing with that next generation, right?
Absolutely.
You have multiple examples, right? You're kind of in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Because not enough people talk about money. right?
Yeah.
Let alone insurance. Like you said earlier, right? We sometimes didn't have insurance. Me
Right.
too, right? Growing up.
Yeah.
And that's stuff that most parents will hide from their kids, and they
Hmm.
shouldn't
Mm-mm.
talk to them because the kids see it, right? My family didn't have a lot of money growing up. So when we had it, it was like a party, but
Yeah.
most of the
Amazing.
time we didn't. And it
Yeah,
was
of
like
course.
crazy. So
Yeah.
we got to talk more about it. Involve the kids, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I remember the same thing. I remember going from a beautiful house and then going down and downsizing, during a recession. And,
Mm.
all of a sudden it's your dad cares how many Q-tips you're using. So,
Yeah, exactly.
you
Yeah.
know, so yeah. But my parents were always incredibly honest. And, I helped out when I was a teenager. And so I got to see exactly what they were bringing in and how they were filing their taxes and why they were doing certain write-offs, what their
Wow.
bills were like. So I got to see all of that and understand why they did certain things. And so that was incredibly interesting to me.
Hmm.
And so with Pace, like, of course, there's always ups and downs, and that's fine. We just went through, right as we had our daughter, we had one of our biggest construction clients file bankruptcy on us for, over $1 million. And that was a big deal. So, um, you know, I see, you know, it's crazy how fast, I mean, our daughter's 2 now, and how, if you work hard and you really focus, and Pace just, the day we had our daughter, he went to Sal and Carlos's event, an all-in event, left the hospital and took off. And I have no emotions for that. I had a couple friends who were like, he left you? And it's like, we
Yeah,
we got to work, we
yeah,
have things
this
to
is
do.
we. Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
it's crazy to see how fast you can rebuild yourself. But knowing that, I married someone who's not going to give up, and I'm not going to give up, and we don't treat each other any differently. Of course, in times of, famine, we're a little bit stressed, but we're each other's best friends and our biggest support system. And,
Mm.
I think I really provide a really stable foundation for no matter what's going on, which is amazing. So yeah, it's great to be together and have a good partnership and understand each other and where each other are coming from, for sure.
Yeah, and one of the things I just wanted to tell you, I've actually met Pace in person a couple of times, and he raves about you uh,
Oh, thank you.
endlessly. Even when you're not there, nobody's like, he doesn't know that I'm ever going to talk to you. He's raving about you. So he has some
Oh,
amazing things to say about you, just so you know. Uh,
that's so sweet.
yeah, but I want to go back again. Like, so let's think about a lady, a mom, a wife, a daughter watching this, and maybe they come from the 9 to 5 world, right? Their parents had, 9 to 5 accounting jobs or whatever it is, right? They leave
Right.
at 9, they come back at 5, they're at home on the weekends.
Mhm.
And then they get into a relationship with an entrepreneur. And it could go either way. I don't have the context of the other way.
Yeah, of
But
course.
what kind of advice, or, what things would you tell them to like make that better? Because I'm sure you hear it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't work lots of
Yeah,
times.
of course. Of course. I think that you have to have a really, um, I don't know if this is going to come off wrong, but you have to really try hard not to Yoko Ono their business. You can't say, hey, it's 5 p.m. You need to be here, and sometimes you'll make a dinner and it might be cold before they get home. And just realize that that's normal,
Mhm.
and that they're going out there for your family. They're going
Right.
out to, for your kids and
Mm.
for the future, and to provide a beautiful life for you. And it isn't, unfortunately, it's not 9 to 5, but you're going to get some amazing, midday things. Like sometimes Pace will call me and say, hey, would you like to have lunch? Or, we'll spend a, sexy afternoon together. And that is impossible when you have a 9 to 5. So
Right.
you get, the mixture of both, but you have to just be really careful not to Yoko Ono and just, because
I
then
love that.
they can't be their full potential. So I see some entrepreneurs that are called out of networking events because their wives are upset with the kids at home and they need to get out of there. Or they're, leaving at 5 p.m. while everyone's still in the office,
Hmm.
going crazy trying to help the company, and the owner's taking off because the wife needs him home. And you just have to, it's just a change of mindset.
Mhm.
you know, and then you just have to realize how lucky you are, you know, because with a 9 to 5, you know, your ability to have a retirement and enjoy yourself when you're older. I mean, if you let your husband just go nuts or your wife, you
Mhm.
know, you might be able to, you know, go take 3 months when you're 40 and go enjoy Europe instead of when you're 65.
Exactly.
And so,
Yeah.
you know, it's a sacrifice, and but it's worth it. It's so worth it. And two, when you have an entrepreneur, you know, you can't, it's like putting a bird in a cage. Like, let that
Yeah.
man fly, let that woman fly, let them be their true potential and reach for their dreams. Because if you try to push them down, they're, you know, it's gonna dim their light, and it's gonna be a little bit sad
Yeah.
too. You know, they're not gonna be as happy.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that bird in the cage analogy because that's right. You clip their wings or whatever you call it. It does take their light away. One of the things
Yeah.
that I know that helped Olivia, that's my wife's name,
Mhm.
when I was out hustling a day job selling software for millions and tens of millions of dollars and building a real estate portfolio on the side, is she would always let me come home and
Mhm.
decompress a little bit, like tell her about my
Oh yeah.
day, which I'm sure she could care less about. Like she doesn't care about a $10 million contract going sideways and this clause and that clause. She doesn't care, but she always let me consciously or unconsciously sort of let me decompress first.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't, and then she would tell me what our daughter did or what we need to do or something
Mhm.
I have to be at because of this or that.
Mhm.
Um, do you do something similar with pace? Because you again highs and lows,
Oh yeah.
and then B, do you enjoy that? Do you kind of seek that out? I don't know. I never asked
Yeah, of
Olivia that.
course. I mean, I think too, one of the things that, I mean, I'm going to touch on that in a second, but one of the things that I learned from my mom is my mom, I've never heard her say a bad thing about my dad ever.
Oh,
And
awesome.
even to her friends, to her sisters, to her mom, never. My mom is like loyal, but also she's just, she truly, not that she's like trying not to say anything bad about my dad. She's just so head over heels in love with him. She thinks he's amazing. So
Wow.
I learned that from my mom. And so when I hang around, you know, some friends or even male friends who are complaining about their wives, you know, it's like foreign to me. I don't get it. It's strange.
Okay.
So, um, you know, I hear a lot, you know, from friends, you know, about husbands coming home and, you know, not speaking or, you know, or not coming home. You know, I have some friends whose husbands instead they want to go play poker after they're done with their work.
Oh, wow.
And so, you know, I'm probably a little bit controversial in that regard where sometimes, you know, I definitely everything has two sides, but I'm like, there's a reason why your husband doesn't want to wind down at home. Like there's something going on, you know. How can you create an environment where he wants to come home and wants
Mm.
to unwind? And so with Pace is kind of unique. He talks all day and people need things from him and need to explain things to him, you know, explain
Yeah.
things to them. And so when he comes home, he just doesn't want to talk, you know, for
I
like
could
an
not imagine
hour.
that.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to be needed. He doesn't want to be asked questions. He just
Wow.
wants to just come home and relax. And you know, sometimes that's the middle of dinner, and sometimes that's, you know, he'll come home at 8:30 at night, 10:30 at night, and I'm like, okay, well, you know, but I don't mind. I almost feel like it's like a testament to that he feels like he can be himself around me,
Yeah.
that he doesn't need
He's
to
not
put on a
on.
facade. Yeah,
Yeah.
he doesn't need to play the character that, you know, Pace Morby has become. You know, he can just come home and just relax. And so, you know, when he comes home, and it's not every night, you know, you know, if he's had a tough day, he'll just, you know, kind of just, you know, of course he's always working. He's on his email or something, but he'll just be quiet and I just let him be quiet. And he also is a big proponent of just never being negative.
Mm.
So sometimes he'll, you know, come home and, oh my gosh, and this and this and this. And you know what? No, I'm not going to go there. I'm not even going to talk about it. How was your day? You know? And so he kind of stops himself from complaining because complaining doesn't really, you know, necessarily get him anywhere unless he's like talking through something. Sometimes he'll just
Mm.
go through something and, you know, come up with his own, you know, solution just from talking through it. But for the most part, like we come home and, you know, what we do is intertwined.
Mhm.
So, you know, we know what each other are talking about. We know if there's a problem in the business or, somewhere that's lacking, or we need some more sales. We both know that,
Mhm.
and so we kind of just shut it off and just let him decompress and be quiet, and
Mhm.
then we just enjoy each other and enjoy the kids, and
Yeah.
so we kind of do that at night, which is
Pretty
nice,
awesome.
actually.
That's
Yeah.
cool. And then your son, your oldest is a boy, right? If I got
Yeah.
that right. How old is he?
He's 13, so I'm right in the
Oh,
thick of uh, teenager
pulling
and
away. Yeah, I know.
and a toddler
Yeah,
too. So
yeah.
I've got both
Uh, I'm,
extremes.
I'm curious.
Hmm.
So at 13, I had a job, right?
Yep.
After school weekend job.
Yeah.
So he's of age where he can actually start contributing, right? He could start
Absolutely.
doing things. So how are you and or Pace kind of involving him in the businesses?
Absolutely.
What's a 13-year-old boy doing?
So what's funny is one of the first things that he said to me, like the first full sentences was, "Mom, how many more houses?" So we just spent a day showing houses, and he was like, "Oh, Mom, how
God,
many
how
more
many more?
houses?" Yeah. So he's learned really quickly. I mean, I never took my kids to daycare. I'm just not that type of mom. So which again is unique. I know that's unique. And nothing against taking your kids to daycare. I'm just, a little bit paranoid helicopter mom, admittedly. So they come with me to work. So they learn really quickly how to sit down and be quiet.
Mhm.
They are listening. They go into listing appointments. They go to show houses.
Oh, wow.
um, they'll go to buy appointments. And so Asher has seen firsthand, when he was probably about 5 years old, I was like, are you gonna build houses like grandpa? Are you gonna go into real estate like mom? And no, absolutely not. And now he's like, yeah, I'm gonna get into real estate without
Yeah.
a question. So right now, I don't know if I'm going to be, spoiling a potential video for Pace, or some sort of announcement from him. But we actually we got him like a little dump trailer, and we got him set up with his own Venmo and his own OfferUp
Wow.
and Craigslist account, and he's posting this dump trailer for rent,
Oh, that's
for
amazing.
99 bucks a day. And so
That is
he
awesome.
controls, people putting in their deposit and paying and picking it up, and they have to bring it back clean. And it's great. So he's learning how to run his own little mini business and how to do the bookkeeping and what it looks like. And he's so excited.
Oh
He
my
is
God.
really enjoying it, which is great. So, and Pace and I have talked about stuff too, because like sometimes we're like, oh, we just really would love a Chick-fil-A franchise, but you have to be an employee. So we're like, we'll have Asher work at
Yeah,
Chick-fil-A,
that's sure do it.
and then we'll buy a Chick-fil-A franchise. So, but yeah, he's been involved. And then as he gets a little bit older, we're gonna get him a little, old beat up Tacoma, and have him go run and do repairs at
Mhm.
our rental properties.
Yeah.
So, Pace's dad was really good at teaching all of his children how to do like handyman type of work.
Mhm.
So they all know how to, hang up a ceiling fan and install a light fixture, and, fix a garbage disposal and paint. They're all really great painters.
Hmm.
Some of the sisters actually refinish furniture, and then
Wow.
they all know how to refinish cabinets. So they're all incredibly interesting, but that's because, Pace's father took them
Yeah.
to work and taught them all of that.
Interesting.
So that's definitely something that Asher is going to be learning here coming up soon, so that he can be involved in the family business, but
Yeah.
also being humble too. Back to, my dad, framing on a job site,
Right.
you're not above going and working with your
Hmm.
hands.
That is
So
awesome. So now let's talk about Laura, the real estate agent. So when did you get
yeah.
your license?
So I started going to school in 2009, right before I met Pace.
Okay.
We actually, when we went on our first date, I was still in school, so which
Okay.
is funny. I've had a pretty interesting real estate career. I've mainly worked for investors. So
Oh.
my first job, right when I got my license, is I worked for a big home flipper,
Hmm.
and he was buying a ton of properties in some outlying communities, Santan Valley and Maricopa.
Okay.
And so I would go evict people for him
Really?
when he would buy properties from the trustee sale.
Wow.
And I just drove around constantly. One day before noon, I had already filled up my car 3 times with gas. I was just, going for him. I learned a lot, learning how to evict people in the beginning and what it takes and serving people notice.
Yeah, that can't be fun. That had to be a
No, it
little
wasn't
emotional.
fun, but
Yeah.
it taught me a lot.
Mhm.
And he was fascinating. When we were in the office, I loved listening to him and seeing what he was doing and how he was finding these houses and his, it was great. And then from him, I went and worked for another big investor here in the state. I love him. He's a great guy. And he owned a trustee sale bidding company.
Okay.
So we come in every morning at about 6 a.m. and comp whatever is going to go up for sale the next day. We create
Wow.
our like hot 100, and then in the top 20, we'd send our runner out to go drive them.
Uh-huh.
Back in the day where you had people crawling.
Oh, I
over
know, through
fences
windows.
and-
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, so that was we'd dispatch one of those people.
So that wasn't you.
Yeah, but I got to see, I got to go to the sale and
Yeah.
see what that was like. That was so fascinating.
Did you in Arizona? Do you have to have cashier's checks with you? Like you're holding millions of dollars in your pocket? Yeah, yeah. We did the
you
same
got to
thing
be
in
ready to
Fresno.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I met a lot of really cool people through him.
Mhm.
And then he started doing short sales. So he also is, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And he was like, here's your notice of default list. Go ahead and call these people and set listing appointments. I'm like, all right, sounds good. So I just started hammering the phones every morning.
Wow.
And set my own listing appointments. He sat in one listing appointment with me. It's my first one ever. And I actually kind of fell in love with that portion of the business because it had a real human element to it. I was talking to people who are getting ready to lose their homes, helping them out, postponing their sale for them. That was great. I loved doing that. And so through him, I think I closed like 237 or something crazy like that.
Wow.
With him being, I was essentially like a ghost listing agent behind him. But that was fascinating. And then I went and worked for another big investor, Danny Perkinson. He's a wonderful person as well. And he owns a brokerage, and they had, they were buying a ton of houses through Invitation Homes and Treehouse. And so he started like a retail brokerage. And so I kind of ended up being his assistant, working in a new home community that he was building. That was great and interesting. And so I think that I've been incredibly lucky to learn from people that aren't in retail real estate and how much possibility there is to make really good money that way. And then Pace bought a Homevestors franchise. And so we kind of did that together. And, I'm fantastic at paperwork. I love it. And so, and he's good at it. He's just better talking to people. So, we made quite a pair together doing Homevestors. And that has the aspect of, short sales where you're helping someone with a massive problem, super emotionally fulfilling. And then that, just totally launched him into wholesale.
Yeah.
And we've just been having so much fun since then. And of course, always flipping houses. We love doing that.
Yeah.
And, it's, sky's the limit, it just to think outside the box than doing open houses and trying to get a buyer, you can, get an investor who wants to flip 5 houses a year. There you go. You got 5 sales right there.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's been a great career. I've super enjoyed myself.
And you still enjoy yourself.
Oh yeah. I love it. I would love nothing more. I remember asking my dad, I was like, what should I do? Because I was in college to be I was a math major in college. What are you going to be? Math professor? What are you going to do with that? So I asked my dad, like, what should I do right now while I'm in college? And he was like, well, I'm going to throw you to the wolves. And I'm like, okay, what
is that? Remember, I am your daughter.
Yeah. And he's like, you should be a real estate agent. And I was like, yeah, with my magnetic personality, like, why would I be a real estate agent? And he was like, he's like, well, realtors are real turds. I'll tell you that much. And he was like, but that's exactly what you should do. And I'm so glad that he did that. And it doesn't matter what job you have. You're kind of always a salesperson. It doesn't matter if you're selling something, So I've really enjoyed myself. And I actually have figured out, of course, there's a different salesperson for every type of person.
Yeah.
And I'm more of a motherly type of salesperson, which has a person who wants someone like me,
Yeah,
So I have really enjoyed myself. I love it.
that's
I'm
awesome.
so glad. Yeah.
So I heard a lot in that. I want to kind of peel back. So you were again thrown to the wolves by dad in college, saying this is where
Yeah.
you need to go. I can't imagine you as a math professor. That would have been a failure. You have lots of other skills that I just can't imagine you on a chalkboard. Do they even have chalkboards anymore? I don't know. Anyways, so you're involved in high volume, right? 09, 2009, 2010. That was big volume in Phoenix,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So you're doing
Oh, yeah.
hundreds. So and you're doing eviction notices to begin with. I can't imagine doing that up front. Then you start listing short sales, and you really get I can see it in your voice when you're telling your story. You love that aspect of helping people, postponing the sale, you said, and you really gave them an easy way out, because they were going to go out. It was either going to be the hard way or the easy way, and you helped them
Absolutely.
see
Yeah.
the easy way. That's awesome.
Mhm.
So now that now it's 2021, you're in the top 1% in Arizona of real estate agents. I'm going to ask a question that you maybe have not been asked. Which side do you like more, the listing or the buying side? You like working with picky buyers who make you show 50 houses, or do you like, one listing and going out there? What side do you like, or do you not care?
I do prefer the listing side, obviously, because it's I should for investors because it's not emotional. It's just a business.
Yeah.
That's
true.
it, and I love that because you get some emotional responses when you're dealing with, a retail client where you're just like, that's so silly that you're so upset over a couple $100. Like,
Yeah.
let's keep this moving.
Yeah, I'll paint that for you. Go away.
Yeah, 100%. And I used to do stuff like that. I still do, where I'll get out and, paint someone's fascia or like pull some weeds. Like, let's remove this. Let's get this going.
Are we really talking about this? Really?
Yeah. Okay. So, but I do miss, I have a soft spot for first time home buyers too.
Yeah.
So there's times where I'm like, oh, I haven't had a buyer in a while, and I'll get one and I'll be like, that was just so sweet. And it's so exciting for someone to purchase their first property.
Home. Me too. Getting on the property ladder. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I love educating first time home buyers, even if they have a 9-to-5, like, please don't sell this house. Please keep it, explaining rentals and, more of a long-term strategy, and like, keep this. This is a great house. Yes, this will be part of your retirement.
Yeah.
And, so I think I'm obviously, ruining some future sales where I could sell their current home, but I really, really, really push my clients to keep their properties.
Yeah. The other thing I want to hit on is, should real estate agents, invest the time in trying to identify 5-10 true investors, right? Should they look for them? So let's talk about it, because again, right, you've been to, or the type, right? They go to a seminar, they start calling 5 agents, they're not really investors. But let's talk about how you as an agent or another agent can qualify folks and really find those repeat buyers. Because I know there's a couple of that are that I call, I buy several a year. So let's talk about why that's a wise investment of time.
Absolutely. Well, I think probably the easiest way is to either be an investor yourself or truly understand it. Yeah. So you can't, if you start talking to an investor, an actual investor, like someone like yourself, and you don't know what you're talking about, or you haven't experienced it, then, and if you don't have the ability to buy an investment property at this point, it's fine. But there's a million, videos on YouTube. Just educate yourself. So that's the biggest thing. The way that I found most investors, though, is honestly through relationships. Exactly. So, or from word of mouth, from listing a property for another investor or helping them purchase a property. So it's crazy how much, any business is networking, but it really is. And it's kind of, I guess you could look at that in a good or a bad way. I think it's actually a good way. People want to do business with people that they see an interface with and that they consider a friend, over just, some agent who's just calling them. So I think one of the biggest ways too is to utilize your social media. Yesterday I had someone reach out to me who, they live in Utah, realtor in Utah. And he used to work with me at Treehouse, and he said, hey, I've got a lender here. He's got an Airbnb that he absolutely loves. He'd like to add another one to his portfolio in Scottsdale. Do you want to help him out? And so, it's funny, when I didn't post about real estate on social media, That stuff never happened. And
Shocking.
sometimes sometimes I like roll my eyes a little bit at myself and I'm like, no one wants to see another house post, but it's true. You have to let people know what you're doing.
Tell everybody. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And you might have some people who are bothered by you, but throw in some personal stuff in there as well.
Yeah.
And because it's crazy. Like when we were doing Homebusters, we were so slammed between that and Pace's construction company. I didn't talk about real estate. And I had a couple friends during that time who bought and sold properties with other people. And then they would say stuff like, we didn't think you were in the business anymore.
We thought you left.
No. So,
Yeah,
and there's nothing worse, when you got an old client or a friend,
Oh,
a
I
family
know.
member who buys or sells with someone else, just hurts your soul. But
Yeah, especially because they thought you were out. I mean, that's on you, right? That's
Yeah.
not on them. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So, and then the other thing too, that you really have to, it's not just about getting the person.
Mm.
I do discounts for my investors, and that's a huge part of probably why I get some repeat business. But I look at it this way, I could get one buyer that I'm going after, who I'm going to make a full commission on. And hopefully they buy something for me in the next 5 years or sell something. Or I can go after an investor who will give me multiple a year. Yeah, I'm doing a discount, but in the grand scheme of things, it's way more worth it. But not only that, but you have to do a damn good job. You can't treat them like they're paying you a discount. Like my investors are probably, they truly are, they're golden nuggets. Like you have to just hold on to them, like, treat them incredibly well, do everything that you can to make them happy, help them out, even stuff that you might not consider to be your job, and just go the extra mile to where they not only want to use you again because you're a good price, but also because you did a great job.
Yeah.
Did a good job negotiating, a BINSR for inspections, and you were on top of things. So
yeah, from my
That's what you gotta do.
perspective as an investor, again, a discounted stuff is always nice and sweet. It's not required. Just FYI, we don't
Yeah, of
come to
course.
you because of a
Yeah.
discount. We come to you because of the service we get, and you ask questions and you think like us, right?
Of course, yeah.
That's like we joked earlier about the fascia or the weeds. We don't care. Right?
We don't care. No,
The fascia could be
absolutely not.
black. I don't
Yeah.
care, right? I
Yeah.
can paint that. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing you said, I hope people heard, is investors, true investors, repeat buyers flock together.
Mhm.
We're
Oh, yeah.
our own little pod out there, and we don't raise our hand going, "Hey, look at me," because we don't want the attention. But I promise you, any investor that's doing 5 or more deals a year has dozens of friends that are also doing 5 or more deals a year, because we just all flock together. So ask questions, ask for referrals, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you're just, living your regular life, I mean, Pace and I met a guy who's really fantastic. I don't think I saw that you had interviewed him yet, but if you haven't, you definitely should. Zach Keeps, have you interviewed him yet?
I haven't. Can you make an introduction?
Oh my gosh, I would love to. He is fascinating, but we were overhearing each other talking at the Phoenix Open, and we just got chatting. Turns out he owns like 400 doors.
Wow.
And he is fascinating. And we owned Homevestors at the time, and we struck up a friendship. And it's just just listening to people, and talking to people, not being afraid to talk to people, because like who would have thought at a golf tournament I could run into somebody who has changed Pace in my life so much. And he's
Wow.
just a great person to know, a great person to be able to call and ask questions to,
That's awesome.
a great person to sell properties to, and so he's
Doesn't
just,
hurt.
he's great, yeah. And he's just fascinating, and at a golf tournament. So just listening, and being okay with talking to people too. So
That's awesome. Oh, this has been so much fun. So I got 2 more questions for you.
Sure.
What does the future hold for Laura? What's coming? So you have your 13-year-old already with the business. Much props. You have a daughter, I think.
Yeah.
She's a toddler. So probably
Yes.
probably too early for a small business loan, probably. But
Oh yeah.
but soon. More kids on the way. Gonna own your own brokerage someday. What's going on with Laura?
So I'm currently getting my broker's license right now. From
Go
seeing
figure.
someone own a brokerage,
Yeah.
I'm truly not interested, to be honest. But I do want to be a broker. I do want to have that designation. I know that's different in different states, but here in
Sure.
Arizona, you're a realtor until you go through the extra education to become a broker.
Yeah, I think in
So
California you need to have your license for 2 years and extra education. So maybe Arizona.
okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah. So definitely want to become a broker. You know, I've been at real estate companies where people call me and ask me questions, and it's
Yeah.
like, I already know, but I would love that little bit of extra
Yeah.
designation. So I'm going for that right now.
Yeah,
which
I
should be
just sorry
great.
to cut. I think you will do
Yeah.
amazing things as a brokerage. You're with your history from what your father had taught you, what you and Pace are doing now, what your kids will be doing in the future. I think a
Yeah.
brokerage license is powerful for you.
Yeah, I love that. I'm super excited to do that. And then definitely going to have another baby. That's hopefully going to happen sooner rather than later. So really excited about that. That's the other thing too, is like, there's no perfect time to have a baby.
I was going to say, yeah, how do you fit that in? I mean,
there's just no, you just got to do it, you know?
Okay. All right.
That's why there's such a big gap between my two kids. And now I'm like, you know what? There's no use in planning for that because it's never the time.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So, you know, and I always, with Pace, it's kind of like I'm on a roller coaster ride, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's, you know, who knows what he's going to want to do? You know, we might end up in, you know, Montana at some point. I don't know. So you never know. So I also, you know, I'm kind of a go with the flow type of person. So, you know, wherever we end up will be great. But definitely keep flipping more houses.
Yep.
I love doing that. That's so much fun. Keep buying more
awesome.
rental properties. That's huge for us. It's always been huge for Pace and I to make sure that we got some long-term rentals, not only for the depreciation, but also for our future retirement. You know, spend good time together with our family. We love doing trips. We have an Airstream. So doing fun stuff like that. We're always, I mean, I just had a birthday this week and I was thinking and I was like, my goodness, I have lived the coolest life and I have done so much. Like if I died today, I'd be just so happy. Wow. There is nothing that we've wanted to do that we haven't done. And you know, sky's the limit from here. There's big world, lots to experience. So I know we're going to keep having fun together and traveling.
Oh, yeah.
And then, you know, I don't know if you know this, but he's got a TV show. So I'm going to be the real estate agent on that show, which is going to be fascinating.
Nice.
So that starts filming this week. That'll be good fun. But yeah, there's just, I mean, sometimes I think like, oh, do I want to be more than a realtor? But
well, first off, hold on. You are more than a realtor. Let's step back from that for a little bit. That's, you know, calling yourself just a realtor is, it's like calling, I don't know. That's just crazy for me to hear that. You're not just a realtor.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, but I'm also into like weird stuff. Like I love astrology. So I actually hired an astrology coach, kind of like Pace as a coach. Wow. So I've got like, you know, weekly Zooms with her and that's been really fun to delve into something that's not like, I'm not going to go be an astrologer by any means, but, you know, that's been really cool for me to take kind of like a fun passion.
That's fun.
And then I love doing yoga and I love going to spin class. So like, you know, just being active. Yeah. And working your body and just feeling great. And we're getting ready to move coming up. So, I mean, there's just so much to do in such a short life. But yeah, we've got a lot of fun stuff going on, really fun stuff going on. And if the market crashes again, to be honest, I probably will get back into short sales just because I'm great at it. Yeah. I did a ton of them before and I love it. And I love helping people.
Yeah, so that was, I could feel that in your review of your story. You really love that aspect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if somebody's watching this and wants to buy or sell something in Arizona, how should they reach out to Laura Morby?
Of course. So you can find me on my Instagram. It's just Laura Morby, or you can call or text me. I can give my phone number if you don't mind.
Sure. I don't mind.
I mean, it's easy to find, but it's 480-717-2070. So super easy.
All right. So folks, again, lots of you are looking in Arizona, Phoenix, Scottsdale is a hot area. If you want somebody who's in the business, knows lots about it, has great relationships, you need to reach out to Laura. One more time with the phone number, please.
Absolutely. 717-2070.
Very cool, Laura. Thank you very much for doing this early Sunday morning. I had a
Of
great
course.
time.
Thank you for having me. This was fun. You were my first podcast.
Oh, awesome. Thanks.